But let's open up with North Wilkesboro, Kyle. This is the big news. This is where the All-Star race is going to be held on May 21st next year in 2023. It seems like this deal was kind of put together a little bit late, and that's why the 2023 schedule has kind of not been released yet. That's looking to be sometime released, likely next week. There's no definitive timeline on when that will be coming out, but this is massive news to return to an historical venue. They haven't raced there since 1996. I mean, this is unbelievable that they're going back to a track that still has the asphalt that was back when they were last there, and they were thinking about turning it up into a dirt track, but those plans have been since removed. That came out last night, those announcements that they're going to keep the original asphalt for now. But Kyle, your initial thoughts here. This is some big news that the All-Star race is going to have some sort of meaning to it once again after a couple of years here at Texas Motor Speedway that were lackluster, to say the least.
Man, I can't believe this is real. Like, honestly, I never thought that we'd see racing at North Wilkesboro again, period. Like late models, anything. The past couple of weeks having the huge late model races and stuff that they've had there was awesome to begin with. And I thought that was kind of going to be what North Wilkesboro would be into the future. Maybe they'd put dirt on it, do some stuff with that. Never in a million years did I think we would see NASCAR there again, the Cup Series there again, let alone as soon as next year. So props to NASCAR. They get a lot of hate for a lot of different things, but clearly they saw an opportunity here, whether it was TV pushing for it, whether it was NASCAR pushing for it, or just a little bit of everything that made this happen. This is what a lot of people were hoping to see, a return to North Wilkesboro in some capacity. And it's happening a lot sooner than people were expecting. And it's getting a significant date as well as the All-Star race, which is going to make the All-Star race feel like a legitimate marquee event once again, which it hasn't been for multiple years, dating even before they moved to Texas, dating even before they tried the Bristol stuff. For a lot of those final years at Charlotte, it was pretty lackluster. They were trying a bunch of different stuff. It didn't work. And now we're going to North Wilkesboro, which is going to be a place that everyone in that field is going to want to win at. So like you mentioned, 1996 is the last time the Cup Series was there. And man, I cannot wait to see it because the late model stuff was great the last couple of weeks, and it's just going to be times 1,000 once the Cup Series gets there.
Yeah, props to Marcus Smith and Dale Earnhardt Jr., who have kind of like really led this charge, it seems, over the past couple of years. Of course, who would have thought the pandemic would have almost been the blessing in disguise for North Wilkesboro to return with the scanning of iRacing of the classic track, not its current state, but when it was back in its heyday, back in the 70s and 80s, that was kind of the scan they went for that track, where it was a little bit more in shape, let's say. But nonetheless, that has just brought some new attention, or rebirth of this track. And clearly the fans are absolutely all for it. They showed up for Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s race. I believe it was on Wednesday night or Tuesday night this week. I mean, they showed up in full force. Of course, there are some, little quirks to the place. It's definitely run down. It's an old track. You can tell that it's been abandoned for quite some time. Parking is not the greatest, but I think at the end of the day, fans will put up with whatever it needs to be in terms of the fan experience for the on-track product of being back there for an historic venue like that. That's going to be the hottest ticket next season, I would say, above almost the Daytona 500 championship race. Whatever is going to be happening with the schedule next season, we don't know that, of course, yet, but that is going to be the hottest ticket in all of NASCAR next season. And I cannot wait to see what kind of show they put on at North Wilkesboro. It's an unbelievable track. We saw it with the iRacing stuff when they were doing the Pro Invitational 2 years ago. Put on a decent race. Of course, that's just simulation. I can't wait to see actual cup cars on that track with this next gen car. Hopefully they can figure out the short track program a little bit more by then, and we have a little bit of a better race. We'll see what Bristol and Martinsville have in the playoffs here in a couple weeks. But I can't believe that we are going back there. I can't wait to see something that I haven't seen before with a sport like this. There's rare things that we've not seen as NASCAR fans here, Kyle. Like, this is a track that was last year before we were both born. So this is going to be all new for this entire generation of fans. And I can't wait to see what Marcus Smith and all of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and everybody involved with the track can put on for that race. So what are you looking forward to most, I guess, with North Wilkesboro, Kyle? It's going to be a pretty special night.
Yeah, well, for starters, I would imagine that's going to either be a bunch of throwback schemes or just become a throwback race or stuff like that. Or at least I hope they do, because that would be great to see, rather than trying to shoehorn it into the first Arlington race, stuff like that, which doesn't work quite as well as it did with the Southern 500 and Under the Lights and stuff like that.
Agreed.
So I hope they do stuff with that. But honestly, it's just seeing a brand new short track, which is something that returning, you know what I mean, short track, because we've seen mile and a halves come and go. We've seen various road courses come and go over time watching NASCAR. But in terms of short tracks, it's been Richmond, Bristol, Martinsville the entire time. There hasn't been any other short tracks and stuff like that. You can look to lower series and stuff. You can include Iowa if you want to, stuff like that. But for the Cup Series, in terms of short tracks, it has been those 3 tracks and nothing else the entire time that we've been watching NASCAR. So it is going to be awesome to see that return.
Welcome.
I don't know what special stuff they have planned for it and everything like that. Of course, the announcement coming down officially earlier today as we're recording this, but man, I cannot wait to see it. And it is incredible that now 2 dates on the NASCAR calendar next year, the All-Star race and another marquee event in Chicago, are basically because of iRacing. And in terms of Chicago being something that they kind of did as their own kind of project to kind of see how it would look in a simulation before maybe trying to push for it in real life. And then for North Wilkesboro, the main reason that the track is even in a state that you could possibly race on in the first place is that iRacing went out there, cleaned up the track and scanned the facilities so that we could have it saved if it ended up getting demolished and things like that. And now a couple of years later, it's going to be raced on by the biggest series in the United States. So it is just incredible news, and something that a lot of people were something that a lot of people were hoping to see, but no one ever thought that we'd actually see.
Yeah, exactly. The last time of record that a Cup car was on North Wilkesboro was the picture that has become pretty well known, I'd say, by Twitter and the NASCAR community, of Kevin Harvick there, I believe in 2010, testing like the old COT car before it transitioned into the 2011 version. That's when it had the splitter with everything like that from the previous COT with the rear wing. It was just kind of like a bridge gap, that 2010 car. So it is crazy to think that over 12 years later, probably around 13 by the time we are there, that we're going to have a cup cars on that track. And it's just going to bring some meaning back to the All-Star race that has been so full of gimmicks and stages and lengths and formats and everything under the sun they've thrown at this thing to try to make it something that hasn't really been. And it's just been kind of, I mean, Texas Motor Speedway was just trying to give them that second date because they knew how bad those races were when they were on the full-time calendar. They would just give it to the All-Star race. They had to meet that 2 races at Texas. But I think it becomes full circle here. You know, North Wilkesboro was kicked off the calendar back in 96, going into 97 for Texas Motor Speedway, and then a second Loudon date. Now, you know, Texas Motor Speedway is likely down to 1 Cup Series date entirely, and North Wilkesboro is going to be back and becomes the oldest technically NASCAR Cup Series track on the calendar, taking the place of Martinsville, because Martinsville's obviously had that since North Wilkesboro went off the calendar. So very exciting stuff, and can't wait to see what North Wilkesboro has in store. So any final thoughts there about North Wilkesboro, Kyle? And we'll break down the 2023 schedule whenever that comes available. But North Wilkesboro itself, any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, just super, super excited to see it actually happen. Something that a lot of people never thought that we actually see, but hoped we would see. And this is quite the timeline that we're in to actually see Cup cars at North Wilkesboro in less than a year.